The rain fell in sheets across the Nexus Station marketplace, a cold artificial precipitation designed to cleanse the upper platforms. Marcus Chen pulled his worn jacket tighter, cursing the environmental controls as he navigated between stalls of bioluminescent fruits and humming tech vendors. That's when he heard it, a soft, trembling whimper from behind a stack of cargo containers. Marcus paused, his engineer's instincts warring with common sense. The Nexus wasn't exactly friendly to humans, and getting involved in alien affairs had cost more than one Terran their freedom. But that sound, that frightened mewling, reminded him too much of his sister's kids back on Earth. He rounded the containers and froze. A small figure huddled against the metal wall, no more than 4 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Her large, dark eyes, too large for her small face, were wide with terror. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 in human years, though alien aging was always tricky to judge. What struck Marcus most was how she was dressed. A thin, elegant garment that might have been suitable for a diplomatic function, but was utterly inadequate for the station's cold upper levels. She was shaking violently. "Hey there," Marcus said softly, crouching down to appear less threatening. "You okay, kid?" The girl flinched, pressing herself harder against the wall. Her lips, tinged with a darker blue, trembled as she tried to form words in basic galactic, but all that came out were stuttered syllables. Marcus glanced around. The marketplace had mostly emptied due to the rain, but he could see a few figures in the distance, tall, armored Krellian security forces moving through the platforms in pairs. The girl followed his gaze and made a small, terrified sound. Something wasn't right here. Without overthinking it, Marcus shrugged off his jacket, the thick thermal-lined one he'd bought specifically for the station's unpredictable climate zones. He stepped forward slowly, hands visible, and draped it over the small alien's shoulders. "There you go," he murmured. "That'll help." The jacket swallowed her small frame entirely, but she clutched it immediately, pulling it tight around herself. Her shaking began to subside, just slightly. Those enormous eyes stared up at him with a mixture of fear and something else. Hope, maybe, or desperate calculation. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Marcus asked. "Family. Anyone looking for you?" The girl's expression crumbled, and she shook her head rapidly. A single tear, crystalline and glowing faintly, traced down her cheek. Marcus sighed. This was going to complicate things. He was supposed to be catching a transport to the outer colonies in 3 hours, a simple engineering contract that would finally get him out of debt. Getting involved with a lost alien child was the last thing he needed. But he couldn't just leave her here. "All right, come on," he said, extending his hand. "Let's get you somewhere warm and we'll figure this out." The girl hesitated for only a moment before placing her small, 3-fingered hand in his. Her skin was cool to the touch, but not unpleasantly so. She stood, the jacket dragging on the ground behind her like a royal train. As they walked through the marketplace, Marcus noticed the stares. Not the usual contemptuous looks that humans sometimes received on the Nexus, but something different. Shock, disbelief, even fear. A Vaxian merchant actually dropped an entire crate of crystallized nutrients when he saw them. "What the hell?" Marcus muttered. He led the girl to a small, human-friendly cafe near the transit hub, a place called Terra Firma, that served actual coffee and didn't ask too many questions. The owner, a grizzled former shuttle pilot named Sarah, took one look at his companion and went pale. "Marcus," she hissed as he approached the counter. "Do you have any idea who that is?" "A scared kid who needs help," he replied defensively. "Can I get some hot chocolate?" "Or whatever works for her biology." Sarah stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "That's not just any kid. That's Princess Lyria of the Celestial Hierarchy. Her mother is Empress Veyara." Marcus blinked. "Empress Veyara? As in rules half the known galaxy Empress Veyara?" "The very same," Sarah whispered urgently. "Marcus, there's a station-wide alert out. She was kidnapped from the Imperial delegation 3 hours ago. The entire hierarchy fleet is en route. The bounty for her safe return is—" She paused, checking her data pad, enough to buy a small moon. Marcus looked down at the girl, Princess Lyria, who was now sitting at a corner table, still wrapped in his jacket, staring at a plate of cookies Sarah had quickly provided. She looked so small, so vulnerable, nothing like the royalty Sarah described. "Who took her?" he asked. "The Krellian Syndicate, they think. Some kind of political leverage play. But she escaped somehow during the transfer." Sarah grabbed his arm. Marcus, you need to contact Imperial Security right now. If they think you're involved. I'm not handing her over to just anyone, Marcus interrupted.
How do I know Imperial Security isn't compromised?
How do I know who to trust? Sarah opened her mouth to argue, but a commotion outside the cafe stopped her. Through the transparent aluminum windows, they could see a squad of Krelian guards approaching, weapons drawn, scanning the area methodically. Lyria saw them too. She made that same terrified sound, her eyes beginning to glow with what Marcus recognized as the onset of panic. He moved to her table quickly, kneeling beside her. Hey, look at me, he said firmly but gently. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. You understand? You're safe with me. She searched his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Marcus stood, his mind racing. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a soldier. He was just an engineer trying to make his way in the galaxy. But looking at this frightened child, remembering his own nieces back home, he knew he couldn't walk away. Sarah, he said quietly, is there a way to contact the Imperial flagship directly? She nodded, fingers already flying across her terminal. I'm sending an encrypted message now. But Marcus, those Krelians are coming here. You've got maybe 2 minutes. Marcus looked around the cafe, then at the service corridors behind the counter. Time to move, princess, he said, offering his hand again. Lyria took it without hesitation this time. As they slipped through the back corridors, Marcus couldn't help but smile grimly. He'd wanted an adventure, a chance to make a difference. He just hadn't expected it to come wrapped in an oversized jacket, with the fate of galactic politics hanging in the balance. Behind them, he could hear the Krelians entering the cafe. Ahead, the corridors stretched into darkness and uncertainty. But in his hand, a small alien princess held on tight, trusting a human stranger with her life. And Marcus Chen, simple engineer from Earth, decided that was enough reason to become something more.